So I would start and say, the government has already done and is already doing what it should do. It is us and the police, the characters of the people and the characters of the police. There are those bad elements in the police.
Such as?
Wale ambao wanaamini they should be feared, police should be feared. Wale wa kuharass, hata akija kukuaddress na kuaddress in a tone that is harassing, not
derogatory,
welcoming tone. Yeah. And nowadays we've seen this kind of police who are kind. Wengine hata utaona atasimamisha magari, mama na mimba ama mtoto avuke barabara vizuri. You see, then they're kind of friendly. Wakikuongelesha, then that is the face of the police force we should be seeing. So I would not blame the police force. I would not blame the government.
But
I would blame the few characters.
Right. So there's a few bad eggs within the police force that might give them the bad name. But in general, you feel we're on the right track in terms of the trust and confidence we have in our police force, the image that they give. You're happy.
Exactly. And also, as kama raia, we should know hawa ni watu ambao ni madugu zetu. They are our brothers and sisters. They are human beings like us.
So are we still living
in my uniform does not make me nimuogope.
Do you think there's remnants of colonialism in that the way we were policed under colonialism was very derogatory, it was nasty, it wasn't to serve and protect, it was more to control? Do you think we still have that thought process, and that's why we evince in our security forces sometimes that rogue, authoritative, angry behavior?
It's still there. Especially in the wale waliingia in the forces kitambo. Majority of them, they are still na hiyo kasumba ya kuwa anafaa kuwa ni haogopwe.
They forget that it's our taxes that pay them.
Look at the people who are going to the police force nowadays, the young people. These guys are turning the police force into something else.
Okay.
Majority of them, they are friendly. Ni watu ambao wanakuja mitaani. And also hii kitu ilikuja kutoa police from the kukaa kwa line tu wanakuja kukaa mitaani. It helps a lot because these guys are used to now. Unazoea kukaa na jirani yako ni polisi wako, unajua kumbe polisi ni binadamu tu kama mimi. He can go through the same pain I'm going and I suffer the same suffering kama mimi. So he's just another human being like me. Ile ni kazi anafanya.
Okay.
The minute sisi tumeanza hii, unaona kuna hii pia tabia unapata mtoto kutoka akiwa mdogo anafanywa aogope polisi.
Nitakushtaki polisi.
Chakula ama akifanya makosa na takuitia polisi. Unaona? Mtoto polisi anapita barabarani, unapata mama anashtua mtoto, anamwambia yule polisi pale atakushika. So ule mtoto anaanza kugrow na fear ya polisi.
Okay.
But the child should be made to know a police is somewhere to run to whenever you have a problem. He's a friendly person. He's your guardian.
Tony, thank you very much.
And that is how we grow.
Asante sana, Tony.
Ni sawa.
0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Also on our Facebook, Spice FM KE. We'd love to know, do you actually have trust and confidence in our public institutions? In this particular case, the Kenya Police Service.
From the outside looking in, it's Kenyans do actually trust the police service to protect them, because I've just many occasions where you hear that their rights to be protected or somebody has done something to them, the first place they go is police. Go to report to the police.
Umeambia police.
Yeah, have you reported to the police? They actually go and, what is it called? Make a statement, seek some kind of help, seek that they then lead some kind of punitive action on the person who may have wronged them. And you find that actually in many cases is their first port of call. So just from the action, it makes us think that yes, there's actually some level of trust that is accorded, or some kind of security, or the protection that is put police. That is put in them. And I think that the police, on the other hand, actually don't know the extent to which Kenyans actually do trust them, or hope that they would actually guard on their behalf. So I think to an extent, even though it's not said or expressed, that there is a level of trust that Kenyans have actually put in the police force, or confidence at least to safeguard them as a people or even property.
And again, I look at the institutionalization of the police as well. In the last, say, 10-15 years, we've had a lot of talk and deliberate action on police reform. The reason why there was a National Police Service Commission established was for that, is to transform the image and the service of the police. They underwent, all of them all police officers underwent vetting, and those that were considered to be bad apples were actually weeded out. And how are they considered bad apples? One of the ways was people would report. People would come and say, I don't trust a police officer so and so because of ABCD, and the Police Service Commission would then actually go through that and say, well, yes, we find merit in this complaint, and this person should not serve as a police officer. Many of them were laid off. Others were now, being encouraged. This is the new face. This is the new shape of our police service. There's a lot that's being done to do that. Maybe it's upon us, another behavioral campaign, change campaign that needs to happen to now start changing us, converting us to be the people who trust our police service.
No, they earn the trust.
You can't force to earn it as well.
But what's interesting is we seem to be speaking quite positively about the police, or at least we seem to be talking like we're on the right trajectory. But how do you then reconcile what you guys are saying with the fact that we've recently seen the reemergence of groups like Mungiki, who usually come in to fill in a gap where there's no policing? So are they even doing their jobs right to start with, let alone are we trusting the police? Or do we have enough police and Bobby's out on the beat? Because
are you suggesting that a group as amorphous and as sinewy like Mungiki would not have among its members people who are actually in the police force?
Oh, well, of course, that's something else to consider. It's more dynamic than I'm suggesting.
It's a business.
But what I'm saying is by the time a group and Mungiki is known to extort in order to protect, so by the time there's actual there's a gap for that to happen, then maybe the police are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. If people are going to start trusting gangs and groups to protect them over the police, so you can't go to the police about the Mungiki. I know the dynamic you brought in, CT, in that in the Mungiki they might be police, which then paints the police in very bad light that they are gangs.
Not necessarily. Mungiki has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
They began as a cultural group.
Right.
Cultural, trying to bring people back to Kikuyu culture, etc., etc., etc. And the evolution turned to what you call extortion, but they have also...
Which is Kikuyu culture, anyway.
Yes. No. Extortion is Kenyan culture. People who are in authority, they also tend to extort. But if you look at the evolution, around the time when there was a serious crackdown, when one Mr. Michuki was in charge of interior in this country, they evolved and just became businessmen. But groups like that cannot survive if all they do is cause harm. You won't survive. They survive because there is some element that seems acceptable to the people among whom they live. And if they evolve or metamorphosize to the point where they are by and large acceptable, then what will then happen is they're normalized.
But what's allowing them to evolve and be acceptable
it's not
is this gap that the police have created in not protecting certain communities or not being in certain areas, and so these guys can come in because there's a vacuum. The Mungiki can come in because there's a vacuum.
I cannot disagree with you on that one. It is true.
So are the police doing their jobs if we're turning to gangs to protect us?
I think the police are doing what they can. The police,
given what they have.
Yes, they suffer the same fate that other Kenyans suffer. They are not enabled to do the job as they should.
So we need more investment into the police.
The same problem we have with schools and teachers is the same problem.
Same we're having with these particular institutions.
We talk about the government saying they're focusing on manpower development and encouraging human resource. They don't, because that's a human resource which, if they had the same focus they have, remember the countries you mentioned, their education system is the way it is because of the focus they give the teachers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, if you leave the teachers aside, you'll find the next people they give that attention are their police force. You will find that a police officer lives next door to a government minister. Next door.
Yeah, and we're talking about a police officer on the beat. We're not even talking
about
a
I'm
police
talking
officer.
about an inspector and above.
Commissioner, right?
Yes. So you're talking about someone who is not only proud of his job, but wants to do what he is supposed to do.
Is actually carrying the nation in his heart and saying,
her heart. And he will arrest his neighbor without thinking twice if this person breaks the law.
Yep.
I think we're sympathizing a little too much with the police force.
The police force in Kenya?
No.
I wanted to change around
police force around the
and
world.
say, in those areas where also Mungiki thrives, it's because of something. It's because of the distrust and mistrust that people have with the police. Why? Because of how police treat the people.
Absolutely. There's a gap. There's a vacuum in
what
the
Tony was talking
protection.
What Tony was talking about, that people are running away from the police officers, and the police, the first thing that they did when they encountered Tony was not to ask them, at least you're not running away. They asked, so everybody else is running away and you're not. And it's because Tony stood up to them that they actually mellowed down. If Tony had also started running away, they would have thrown a baton at him.
And if I look at it differently,
And this
I
is
also
what
see,
happens.
Yeah, I also see that people tend to actually, if I can switch it up a little bit, which I think I'm allowed to, as giving it some kind of analytical thought. If somebody reports you to the police, could not necessarily be because they have trust or confidence that they will do something, but they feel that they're going to met upon you that action which they find undesirable in the first place.
Oh, it could be a
You
revenge.
see, it
yeah,
could
an
be
act
a
of
revenge kind of thing, and they know that would be those are the people that would be able to met that out on you, and that is why they go to them, as opposed to having necessary confidence or trust in the system that would do something. They think that yes, the attitude that is the universal one about what the police would do is what they want to be brought upon you, and that is why they go to report you in the first place, not because they have any necessary confidence.
Let me ask
put
a
it this
question.
way.
How many of you actually know policemen? No, as in
individuals
people you
Like-
know, you talk
Who are
to,
cops.
you have. Yes, how many of you?
Yeah, I
We've
know.
got numbers. There are
Yeah.
things of I know a cop.
No.
It helps you.
No, not I know a cop. Someone who you can call, chat with, you have tea
As a
with.
buddy.
As a friend, somebody. How many of you have such people?
I do have.
I do.
0719-012-600. We'll come back to that. Let's hear from James. James, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Are you a police officer?
Probably.
Probably.
You never
Carry
know.
No, I'm not a police officer.
Oh, shame.
Anyway, it's a very interesting topic,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think we have to fight them so much.
Mm.
I think they somehow do their job.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting, like the way you see them walking in pairs, like you see two policemen walking on the street, going nowhere. I told my friend one day. I told my friend one day, if you wake up one day and you don't find them in the street walking, just like that, it will be all chaotic. Just by seeing them, there's that order.
The visibility.
So their presence is a deterrent to crime.
Yes, the visibility, their presence. There is an order.
Okay.
And at times I see the way they live. If you go to a police station and you find some houses, you cannot even explain whether it's a house or what. You can't tell. The way we don't know how to keep them well. We don't pay them well. So what do you expect? You don't expect good service from somebody who is sleeping hungry or who is sleeping so badly. I think they were trained by the time they are coming out from their colleges.
They've gone through some training.
Yes, they go through training, but once they come here, we say the situation is different on the ground.
They're
And
retrained.
and they change. Now they switch on to survival tactics.
The streets
You're
train them
not-
then. Yeah.
Yes, we are not paying them well. They are living badly.
Yeah.
What do you expect from them?
Well, thank you very much for your contribution, James.
Yes,
Asante sana for that call, and keep listening to the Situation Room.
thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too. Do you have confidence in the public institutions? Do you have trust and confidence in the Kenya Police Service? In particular, is what we are asking. And what is it that is making people not have as much confidence? Or what is it that's actually helping people improve their confidence in the police service? 0719-012-600. Good morning, 26 to 10.
All right, let's look what's happening in Mombasa today. The ferry services have suspended for 3 hours the traffic at Likoni Channel to allow divers retrieve bodies of the individuals who unfortunately plunged and drowned in the Likoni Channel a couple of days ago. So ferry services have been suspended for the next 3 hours, and that's taking us round about to noon. So we can expect that if you are getting into that area, you will not be able to cross the ferry until about noon. So we ask you to hold your plans for now, and if you're already there, this is what is happening if you're not able to turn back. So for all our listeners in Mombasa, you will not be able to access the ferry services until about noon because the operation to retrieve bodies by divers is currently underway. All right, looking back into the capital city of Nairobi, all roads are clear for now, and Ngong Road is still clear, realizing that today is the opening of the Nairobi show by the president, and that is going to affect traffic on that road in and out in a few hours. That's what's happening on the roads. You see anything different that we should know about, give us a call, 0719 012 600.
Thank you very much for joining us. 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. Good morning, and how are you doing? The Situation Room is Kenya's biggest conversation on Spice FM. 94.4 in Nairobi, 7.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, 96.7 Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, 97.6 in Malindi. The conversation is actually happening on Spice FM KE on Facebook this morning, and also via our hashtag Situation Room on Twitter. And please follow us on Twitter, Spice FM KE. Well, we're talking about public confidence, confidence in public institutions, trust and confidence in public institutions. And Jeria is actually saying, why is it that we don't seem to have as much public confidence in our police service, for example? What should the government do? What should the community do to improve this situation?
Well, actually, what I was trying to highlight is the importance of having trust and confidence in the police, because this is our contact point with government as the citizenry. So it's a great opportunity for the government, for starters, to not just paint themselves in a good light, but to get a feel-good factor from the citizenry. And that cooperation from the citizenry makes it easier for the acceptance of policy and makes it easier to be liked as a government in general. So what I was saying is that the government needs to place more emphasis on making sure that the relations between cops and the citizenry is good, because that's our touch point most of the time with government, with the authorities. And then I went on to ask, do we feel confident in our policing? Do we feel hustled and threatened, or do we feel served and protected? That's the question. Are we still scared of police? Is it still, do they talk to you in a derogatory manner, or do you feel you can go to them for help? And we're getting phone calls, and I think it's the divide is 50-50. You'll have some people say, actually, the cop was really good to me, but that could be your sentiments is that because you thought they were going to be terrible, so they were just normal to you. It's not that they were fantastic. So hence that's why you form that sentiment. I will say there are some failures within the police. Of course, we've seen a lot of reforms in recent years, but there are some failures, and that's why you find, when we've been talking about it, the re-emergence of people like Mungiki. So maybe in terms of numbers, we don't have enough police. Somebody called in and said, well, they're not well paid. I've got the pay grades here. So a constable fresh graduate, as they call them, he starts off on 32,880. A corporal is on 42,000, a sergeant 45,000, another senior sergeant 50,000, inspector of police 53, chief inspector 59. So it's not a terrible salary. I mean, it's above average national wage. And then as you go up,
what's
of course,
the average national wage?
The inspector
The
general,
minimum wage is 10,000.
the minimum wage is 10,000.
11,000.
The average wage, if we were to do it, not as a
Clearly,
mean wage.
You people don't earn that 10,000 you're speaking of. That's why you're not sure about it.
No, what I'm saying is there's been a lot of movement in ensuring that the police are well compensated for their jobs, because somebody called in and there was an element of sympathy from him. You know, they're not well paid. You should see the houses that they live in. It's terrible.
They're worse than pigsties.
It's terrible. And this is why we shouldn't expect a good service from them. Now, I don't know, they're lucky that they're provided for houses. In other countries, the cops live within the community.
Yes, but
That's the
they're
new
paid
move.
well. So
In order to do
the
that.
issue of living isn't an issue.
That's the new move, actually. So you give them a house allowance, so you can now go and live within the community.
But that should have been done a long time ago.
Well, it's
Reforms.
It's now happening. The question is, do we have a feel-good factor about our cops? Do you feel you can go and report something and something will be done about it without you forking out any money, for instance?
I was beginning to have a feel-good factor about them until they got this new uniform.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm wondering, okay, now who are these? I mean, it's just it doesn't inspire confidence. It doesn't make
Well,
you
the
feel
uniform.
The uniform. It just doesn't
Have
make
you
feel.
you been to Uganda?
Yes.
Have you seen the uniform the policemen wear?
Yes.
Does it inspire confidence?
No. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Neither does the one in Tanzania. We had very good uniform for the cops here.
Do you feel safe around the police?
Well, sometimes
Do you feel
yes,
protected
sometimes
or do you
no.
feel threatened?
Sometimes you actually feel threatened, depending on how they approach you, how the encounter that you have with them. In many instances, you'll have an encounter where, if it's an encounter where you just see them like James was saying, patrolling, going nowhere, just patrolling the streets, you feel confident. If it's an in an instance where they are coming, let's say they are coming to conduct a certain operation,
Or there's been an accident.
or there's been an accident. Actually, when there's been an accident, or they stop you in traffic, you feel there's some sense of hostility. So they stop you.
You're
They're asking
apprehensive.
you. Yes, you're wondering. So what exactly is going to happen here?
I want to bring forth a perspective. We are talking about our policemen and the confidence we have in them. I think the citizenry of this country are exemplary. It is us who are fairly law-abiding.
Mm-hmm.
We respect authority.
We do.
So the cops in this country cannot say they have a hard time. They don't.
We make their jobs
Their
very
job
easy.
is not very difficult
No.
to do.
The colonialists did it well.
Is loitering still a crime?
Loitering.
I'm not even certain what isn't a crime in this country. I'm not very
Loitering is a
clear.
crime.
It's a crime.
Oh,
So
Well,
how
that
do
law
you
would be
determine?
unconstitutional.
How do you determine? Well, that's a colonial rule because
Yes.
it was considered vagrancy, and it was meant for Africans who are found walking aimlessly.
Aimlessly. That was it.
It's-
Loitering and walking aimlessly.
If it's still a crime, it's definitely unconstitutional because your freedom of expression and so on should allow you to go anywhere and along with other laws. And
Our producer
provisions.
John also reminds me that idling is also a crime. So cops can
How
actually
do you
find
determine
How do
idling?
you determine
You
whether
could
I'm
be a
idle?
deep
I could be waiting
philosophical
for
thinker
someone.
and
Yes.
thinking very deeply, and you're going to contribute massively.
Now
to
you see the
society.
reason why you have cases of where the youth, especially the youth, feel the cops are really adversarial. It's because of such issues. So you're
This-
found somewhere
yeah.
and you're told you're idling, get into this van, or you're loitering without intent.
By the way,
So the
that-
harassment
by
of
the
the
way,
youth is
that-
still rife.
That did not start yesterday.
Right.
Mariamu was
Yes, being young in this country has always been a hazard. Yes.
Well, now
Though-
the government is looking to embrace the youth because they've realized how powerful a tool they are when it comes to the elections. So there's a lot of promises that are targeted towards the youth. But do the youth still feel harassed by
Yes.
the policemen?
They
Of course
do,
they
and
do.
they do because they are harassed. If you are young and you have harassed her, you have a problem.
yeah.
Just by virtue of the fact you have harassed her, you will have a
So
problem.
these are biases that the policemen themselves
and
have.
And they're
they've
taking
been
long.
concretized.
They're
because
taking
it
long
doesn't
to
make
actually
any
witness
sense
this.
if it's to arrest them to then get a bribe out of them. It's the last person
Mostly
you should
that's
go
it.
to. Well, the youth don't have too much money. It's like flogging
It
a dead
doesn't
horse.
matter. Yes, you have 100
Sorry, no,
bob,
no
100
offense.
bob, 100
there's
bob, 100
youth with
bob.
money. Okay,
Yes,
so
100
it's
bob, 100 bob. At
economies
the
of
end of the
scale,
night,
is it?
Yes, by the end of the night, these guys have a lot of cash.
You know what's concerning me is we're sat here talking about the level of sort of bribery and the harassment that the police do, and we're laughing about it. It's a matter we've accepted, we're okay with it, it's part and parcel of our culture. But this is what erodes the confidence in these public institutions. It's what erodes or makes... Sorry, CT, you were going to interrupt me?
No, I wasn't
All
going to
right.
interrupt. I was going to contribute.
He was taking the proper
Go
stance
ahead.
with which to then to contribute.
You see, remember, I was telling Ndu that Kenyans are passive aggressive.
Right.
See, someone who's passive aggressive is someone who just doesn't like direct confrontation. They avoid it. It doesn't mean that they do not want to resist. Kenyans understand that in time, in life, you need to find the best way that will suit your purposes. And they choose that path. It's what Kenyans do. Now, policemen understand this and they exploit it. They know that this person is going to want to pay for convenience.
They know that this person
Yes,
doesn't
and-
want to be
yes,
able to
yes,
explain
and-
themselves,
Yes, and the
or
police
get
is
to a
selling
confrontation.
inconvenience. Yes, so they know you'll pay.
No, the police is selling convenience.
No, he's selling
you
no.
pay for the convenience.
No, that's what you
the,
pay
the police
for.
is creating inconvenience, but
Yes.
selling convenience.
Yes.
In
That's it.
Nigeria, in the 1980s and 1990s, in Benin, which was in South Central Nigeria, there are very, very many cases of robbery with violence, armed robbery. It became a national case, and the residents of particular areas within Benin City, which is in Edo State, would complain time and time again. We're being robbed. Our women are being raped. We are being robbed at gunpoint, being attacked all the time. The police never really did anything about it, and so then it was a general consensus that actually they were involved in some of these gangs, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So do you know what the people did?
Mm-hmm.
The people formed what is now famous in Nigeria as a vigilante groups.
So they're
and they-
Mogiki.
They
equivalent
took
of-
Chinkururos.
their neighborhoods back, and they would be the men in those particular neighborhoods would be awake at night when they knew that these armed robbers would strike and attack, and they took it upon themselves to safeguard the residents of those neighborhoods, and they would not harm or maim. They would kill these armed robbers who came. And when the police now would suddenly appear miraculously to do the investigations, they would ask, we've been complaining for years. You did nothing. Our women are being raped. Our children are being attacked. Our livelihoods are being taken away from us by people that you should protect us from. And it actually became famous until now. We have that vigilante groups are actually working hand in hand with the police.
Right.
There was no confidence until now. We actually have, it's a national thing where the police are actually, where you say that there's apprehension to contend with them, there's total disrespect for them. It's like, I beg, this one is just here to control traffic. It's not really going to help us in terms of our security.
Yeah, wherever.
Yeah, exactly. So we're not, if you talk about not wanting to confront, and to the point where we're looking for confrontation, we're asking you to please come and do something about this, because that is the job that you have been given. So you're not doing your job. We will take literally the law into our own hands until we get a desired result. It was clear where you would see cases where you would know, because there would be burning tires on the side of the road, and here, there was an attempted robbery last night. It was not the police, but somebody was burned.
It was that serious.
Oh, literally, yes. Smoking tires in the morning because somebody tried to attack, and these boys were sitting out at their neighborhoods at night, safeguarding their own livelihoods.
There was this recent incident. Of course, 2 policemen have been arrested in connection with the theft of the 72 million. So I think the general sentiments is that policemen are just Kenyans, and they're
just
not
part
going
of
to
the-
have a higher level of integrity, and they're not. They can steal, or they'll take bribes. We don't have that sense that policemen are morally upright citizens
No,
that we can
we
run
don't.
to. We don't have that sense,
The-
which we need to build.
The
We-
only people we rank lower than them are the politicians.
right.
Yes.
But in terms of public institutions, we rank the judiciary quite highly, I think.
But
As the populace,
that ranking is
we look up.
It has been, but it isn't where it
It's a
was.
slippery one.
Yes, it's beginning to descend.
What about the media? Do we, as an institution, let's say not a government institution, but as an institution, do people
Kenyans
still
love the
respect?
media.
They
Still the
respect
number
the
one.
media.
They love the media.
Still the number one
I
most
know
trusted institution.
most trusted.
Yes,
it's the
They
number
love the
one.
media.
Right. Okay. NGOs, civil society.
Those ones.
Those ones.
Do we trust them still?
No,
Or
no,
are
no,
we,
no,
are
no.
we
They
on to
lost-
them?
They lost
You
it.
wouldn't use the word trust when referring to them. They are, most people see them as cash cows.
Right.
Before, there used to be some kind of NGO worship in
At-
this
at
country
some-
where
at
it
some
came
point-
to
But,
when they
but
entered,
given that there were Kenyans who worship them, why do you think they worship them?
because there was some promise of some kind of
Not promise.
money.
There was certainty.
There was
We-
certainty of money that was going
Yes.
to be handed out.
We are live streaming on Facebook, Spice FM KE, and there are comments there as well. And I'd like you to call in as well, 0719-012-600. I'd like to repeat that number often, 0719-012-600. Julie Masiga on Facebook says, the police might have had a new face, but their insides have remained the same. I'm wondering if we ever tried to deconstruct and reconstruct the force from the oppressive arm of the colonial government into something that meets our needs as a post-colonial free African society. Their systems still function as tools to control and subdue.
Yeah, I think that sentiments cuts. It's indicative of, or it reflects a lot of other people's sentiments. There's very few people I see are happy to go to the cops or interact with the cops or feel safe and secure around the cops. I know for a fact, for instance, if there was a crime, so your phone was stolen, it's highly unlikely that the cops will actually find your phone. That's a sense. That's a personal opinion. So I just won't bother going to report it. I'll leave it. The phone is gone. It's gone.
What should people feel, or what should it be that, let's just take the police for example, what should they feel that this department or this agency should do for me as a citizen?
Should make me feel very safe, because their primary function is to protect people and property, and I should feel that there's a level of integrity in there because of the nature of their work, that they can't be compromised, so that if I go and report somebody, that person can't then bribe their way out of whatever it is, whatever crime it is I've reported them on. Whereas I don't personally feel like that. I might feel safe when I see them visible, and I might think, okay, the area is safe, nobody's going to come and mug me. But in terms of them carrying out their role fully to its logical conclusion, i.e. finding my property if it goes missing, I don't know if I trust them, because whoever stole it, if they have some money, they can give them a kickback and I won't get my phone or whatever it is I've stolen.
Also, they need to change their attitude as well. You go to report that you've lost your phone and you're treated as a suspect in the loss of your own phone.
Right.
Are you sure? Did you have a phone? Where was it? What kind of phone are you really sure that you had this phone? You see, the kind of attitude that you actually encounter with the police officers is still not changing as fast as we expect it to. If you also look at how they treat any small demonstration, every small demonstration, the first thing that you'll see, tear gas. And why is it? Why does it have to be like this? Why does it have to be confrontational all the time when you're encountering police?
Remember, we are the only country in the world that doesn't have a riot-resistant police force. We have a riot police.
Yes. or crowd management police.
No, riot police.
Anti-riot police.
No, riot police.
They riot. So they come at you with the rungu, with
do.
the fire, with the tear gas.
The problem then also could be that from their perception, they don't see themselves as to guard and protect, which is why I asked the question. They don't see, because you only give what you have. You cannot give what you don't. If they don't have that idea or that mentality that is what they're supposed to be doing, it may be down on paper, which is fantastic. But if they don't have that perception or that acknowledgement that this is actually what they should be doing, then it will be difficult for them to expend that.
So it's a training.
And if they think that it is punitive, that they should be coming through. They should be
Well.
coming through from a punitive stance. Then that's what they're going to put out.
I referred to government, the manner in which the government treats its citizenship. I refer to it as conmanship. If the police force are part and parcel of the government, who actually, if you look at the actions, they actually disregard this Mwananchi whom they're supposed to report. And somebody else they don't. But then why do they treat them the way they do? Everything that is done to the Mwananchi reeks of disregard completely. So the police who actually have authority, look at the authority they have. They can arrest you. They can, those guys
can arrest you without
just
cause.
because they don't like the way you look.
Yeah, without cause. Yes.
They can arrest you. So that amount of power given to individuals within a power structure of government like the one we have, how do you think they're going to behave? How do you think they're going to behave?
That's how they behave.
Yes.
It's all about ego as well sometimes, because they feel I've got power. And I just need to exercise my power.
And sometimes also they feel they're looked down upon. Because for the longest of times, our police force was not known for employing the sharpest knives we had in the drawer. No. You entered the police force when you couldn't do whatever else you had planned for. The only thing lower than it was joining the seminary.
And you can see evidence of the same when you actually confront, a police officer from a position of knowledge and from a position of knowledge of your rights. And you find that when you're actually confronting someone, when you know that confronting a police officer, when you know that you are not in the wrong, but you actually want to find out what premise this individual is coming from, you'll find that they're not able to then contend with you on that level, and then it becomes aggression. It becomes aggression in the sense that, okay, so why are you even asking me this question? Whereas you really want to understand where they're coming from, or why is it that they've asked you to do certain things that they've asked you to do, and they don't want to be in a confrontation with you, coming from that premise that they're not often secure in their position.
They're not.
And
if you ask a question or you seem to pose a question,
you're
they consider it.
questioning
Yes,
it's rudeness, or it's
why do you lack respect?
Yeah.
Yes. Why are you disrespecting me?
So I think from where they're coming from, they don't actually, it's true, without regard of what it is that they're supposed to be expending as far as their duties are concerned, they maybe also be at a lack.
For many of them, their approach towards policing is bullying.
They don't really understand what it is that they're meant to be
They are
doing.
trained. Actually,
They're trained not to understand?
No, they are trained to treat you. They're trained to
They're
treat
trained
you well.
from the very beginning
They're
to
trained.
treat you
No,
well.
they are
To treat you well.
They are trained to treat you well. Believe me, they're trained to treat you well.
But I think also the systems within which they operate can be quite restrictive. Just by, for instance, let's take how many cops there are and the population and what is stipulated, although it's said to be mythical, but you're supposed to have one cop per 1,000 people apparently. Now, we as Kenyans, I think there's a total of 75,000 cops. I think our population, of course, the census might change. This is maybe about 50 million. So already in terms of resources and structures within which they're functioning, that's already limited. So maybe they're not as motivated to do their work as they could be.
They're motivated, all right.
They're motivated for the bribes, but then by the bribes, perhaps.
Why do you think I have said on occasion that we need to legalize this?
Yeah, it could be a way of collecting tax where we're
Yes.
helping the government pay for the police. It's not too far-fetched. It sounds a little absurd or crazy, but I'm actually for that idea. If we look at structures through which we can make petty bribes